sure you've heard this name, and if you haven't, oh, you're about to, and you're about to hear it a lot. So our production function, obviously because n divided by n is just 1, so that cancels, so our new production function would be this. And remember, we're still working in a closed economy, so here your investment equals your savings. Now we're going to look at the evolution of capital stock by bringing in a new variable, which is delta, so that's going to be our depreciation. Of course, whenever you buy capital, so any type of machinery, it's going to depreciate over time. So if you buy a computer for £200 in a year, it's not going to be worth £200 anymore. So that money lost is your depreciation. We can also write our equation in form of output per worker, which can also be rearranged to take all the capital to one side of the equation. Now we use this production function by subbing in y over n to get a difference equation for k over n, so the capital. Capital will always need growth. And in order to grow your capital, your stock of capital, you're going to need investment. So that's where the Solow model comes in. It shows how those three variables always grow simultaneously. Of course, we said that investment equals savings, so an increase in savings rate will also create an effect because it shifts investment per worker up but still below the output. We can also show graphically the relationship between consumption per worker and the savings rate, where there is a max steady state at the top, at the peak of the graph. To find that steady state, now this is something that a lot of seminar questions are based on, so watch this one carefully. So for this one, you assume that y equals the square root of k, square root of n. You might see this in different formats, which is y equals k to the power of a half, n to the power of a half. This is a Cobb-Douglas function. You'll see this all the time, and most often in seminars you're going to have to differentiate all of this. But for now, I'm just going to show you how it was initially derived, so that then you can do your workings that are, the derivation of it afterwards. So in order to solve for your steady state, you're going to have k star, so steady state is represented by the star, over n, and that equals to your savings over your depreciation squared. And your y, so your output steady state is going, y star over n is going to equal to the square root of the capital star, so the steady state of capital, which is, again, if you square root something that's squared, because you're subbing in s over depreciation, it just gives you savings over depreciation. In the long run, because of this relationship, when the saving rate doubles, your output per worker will also double. Let's now look at the steady state of consumption. We also have a similar equation, so you've got your c star, so your steady state, equals your y star over n, so your steady state output minus the depreciation times the capital. And again, you can simplify everything by subbing in those s's, the savings. Now, in the event of population growth, evolution of capital stock won't actually develop. And that's going to be shown through these equations. So your capital in your new time period, so t plus 1, is equal to your 1 minus depreciation times your capital of the current time period, and that gets added to the savings times the output of the current time period also. So that's how you work out how much capital stock you will have in the future. Also work this out per worker, which I will display here, but I won't talk through because it's quite standard calculations through calculus. And again, if you need more help with your actual calculus practice, you can book in one-on-one sessions with me for tutoring. But one last thing that I do want to show you and talk you through is what actually happens during the population growth. So we can again show this graphically. Using the Solow model, compared to the first graph, this one has a more steeper arch going back down again. And that's because during population growth, you just can't sustain as much output per worker because there's more people, but you can't just suddenly shift how much machines you have, how many factories you have. You can't just start catapulting that up as the population growth increases. So instead, per person in the country, for example, you have less product actually getting created. Thank you so much for coming along, and remember again, you can book in one-on-one tutoring with me. Thank you for watching. I'll see you soon. Yeah? Come back.